You type a search into Google. You like a photo on Instagram. You chat with a friend on a free messaging app. These actions feel small, free, and harmless. They are the background hum of modern life. But what if they're not? What if, in those tiny, seemingly insignificant moments, a new and invisible kind of power is secretly mining the raw material of your life? What if your own personal experience has become the new oil, the most valuable and contested resource on Earth? According to Harvard professor Shoshana Zuboff, this is the reality of our age. And in her monumental and essential book, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, she gives a name to the terrifying and unprecedented economic system that is silently changing what it means to be human. Today on Geeky Philosopher, we are going to pull back the curtain on this new frontier of power. This is not a story about tech or the internet. It is a story about a new form of capitalism that has learned to predict and ultimately control human behavior. The first and most important thing to understand is that what companies like Google and Facebook are doing is not just a quirky new business model. Zuboff argues that it is a new rogue mutation of capitalism, as different from the market capitalism we know as that system was from the industrial capitalism that came before it. She calls it surveillance capitalism. So what is it? Zuboff defines it as a new economic order that claims private human experience as a free source of raw material for its production process. Let's break that down. For centuries, capitalism made money by producing goods and services for people. Surveillance capitalism has discovered a new and far more lucrative market. It doesn't just want to sell you things, it wants to trade in your behavior itself. To understand how this happened, we have to understand the raw material it feeds on. The raw material of surveillance capitalism is what Zuboff calls behavioral surplus. Here's how it works. When you use a service like Google Maps, you give it data in order to get a better service. You give it your destination and it gives you a route. That's a fair exchange. But you are also giving off a huge amount of extra data that is not needed to improve the service. Data about the route you took, how fast you drove, where you stopped along the way, what you looked at. This extra data, this digital exhaust, is the behavioral surplus. Surveillance capitalists realize that this surplus, which we give away freely and unconsciously, is incredibly valuable. They declared it to be their own, and they began to mine it relentlessly. Every like, every click, every search, every hesitation of your mouse, the tone of your voice in your own home, all of it became part of this free raw material, taken without our meaningful consent. Once this raw material is collected, it is fed into a new kind of factory. This factory is not made of bricks and mortar, it is made of machine intelligence, of massive AI systems. Inside these digital factories, our behavioral surplus is analyzed, processed, and refined. The AI systems learn to find deep patterns in our behavior, to understand our personalities, our moods, our vulnerabilities, and our desires, better than we understand them ourselves. And what does this factory produce? This is the most startling part of the book. The product is not just targeted ads. That's a common misconception. The real product that is being manufactured and sold is a prediction of our future behavior. They are creating prediction products. These products are sold to their real customers, other businesses, who want to make a bet on our future. An insurance company wants to know how likely you are to get into a car accident. A bank wants to know how likely you are to default on a loan. A political campaign wants to know how likely you are to vote for their candidate. Your future is the product they are selling. But it doesn't stop there. Predicting our behavior is lucrative. But what is even more lucrative? Controlling our behavior. This is the final, chilling goal of surveillance capitalism. Zuboff calls it instrumentarian power. It is a new form of power that seeks to tune, herd, and modify our behavior at scale for commercial purposes without our awareness. The goal is no longer just to know where you are going to go, it is to subtly influence where you go. We saw an early playful version of this with the game Pokémon Go. The creators of the game could and did use lures to herd massive crowds of players from one location to another, often into the stores of their corporate partners like Starbucks or McDonald's. But the applications can be much more serious. An insurance company can use data from your car to set your rates, and then use a system of rewards and punishments delivered through an app to tune your driving behavior into a more profitable pattern. A social media company can subtly manipulate the emotional content of your news feed to see if it can make you happier or sadder, as Facebook infamously did in a massive secret experiment. This is a new kind of power that does not operate through force or coercion. It operates through the subtle, gentle, and inescapable architecture of our digital lives. It bypasses our conscious awareness and our human will. The Age of Surveillance Capitalism is a difficult, dense, and often terrifying book, but it is not a book of despair. It is a wake-up call. Zuboff argues that this is not an inevitable technological problem. This is a political and social problem. The technologies themselves, the internet, AI, are not inherently evil. It is the specific parasitic economic logic of surveillance capitalism that is the problem. And because it is a human-made system, it can be unmade by humans. The solution is not to smash our phones and retreat from the digital world. The solution is to name this new rogue power. It is to have a democratic conversation about our rights in this new age. The right to our own future, the right to our own experience, the right to a sanctuary from the constant gaze of the market. This is the great fight of our time. It is the fight to decide whether the digital future will be a place of human flourishing, or a place where our own lives are simply the raw material for someone else's profit. It is, as the book's subtitle says, the fight for a human future. We are living in a new and uncharted territory. The first and most important act of resistance is awareness. It is the choice to wake up from our digital trance and to see the invisible systems that are shaping our lives. If you are someone who believes in being a conscious citizen, not just a passive user of the digital world, then you are a part of this fight. Consider subscribing to Geeky Philosopher, where we are dedicated to exploring the powerful ideas that help us reclaim our future. Thank you for your time.